fool ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by being the best he could be. Give me liberty, or give me the whole 9 yards. I have not yet begun to darn the torpedoes. No battle plan ever survives first contact with an army of one. Q&A, fan mail, so many packages. But first, some channel updates. I do not know when I will be taking commissions again. I'm still trying to work through my backlog. And then I've got big builds for myself that I really want to get done. I have a deadline now, so I'm working on it. Those are going to be epic. For those of you who still don't know, Storytime with Captain Xavier is taking place over on my LEGO channel, Captain Xavier's LEGO channel. I've made it through the first game of HVZ. We'll be doing the second U of I HVZ, and then we'll get to WSU, which is where the good stuff was. I will also cover all sorts of other stories eventually, adventures of medieval stuff and private security stuff and just general silliness and weirdness, SteamCon, who knows what else will get covered. Many tales of black hatting with the crew, loads of fun. But it's taking time. I'm still trying to get better minifigs to better represent us all. Shipping! The point of shipping. I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but it came up again today. If you're going to mail me something, it does require shipping. You have to put stamps or pay for the packages. Had a package come in today that had no shipping label on it at all. The post office wasn't sure how the heck it even got there, because they generally won't even take it if you don't pay for it. Ultimately, they figured that the label must have fallen off in transit, because there were stamps on it that kind of indicated that it had been paid for, so just be aware of that. I've had a couple of letters come in that had no postage, which, I mean, you know, I had to pay 49 cents for it, which isn't bad, but this one would have cost 36 bucks, which is pricey to get my own fan mail, but I don't know what's in it. It may be worth it. I may have gladly paid. We'll find out when we get to there. All right, let's do some Q&A. Caleb Carter. Is the aspect of shell cutting worth the performance of 180s, 132s? Some blasters, you don't actually have to cut them for the 132s. Some you do. It kind of depends. I personally I'm not a huge fan of 180s for a number of reasons. The cutting the shell is one of them. The advantages that you're going to get with standard cages is faster spin-up time. The added torque of a 180 motor means that the flywheels spin up faster. If you then do high crush flywheel cages, you get incredible performance out of them. But I don't like the idea of a full auto flywheel that hits 160 FPS, because that's a lot of pain in a very short amount of time, and I'm not a fan of Nerf blasters that hurt. I would not mind a full auto flywheel blaster that spun up really quickly. So it's not a whole lot of trouble to cut the hole if you have the right tools. You can Dremel it out easily enough. You can drill it out easy enough. If you don't have the right tools, any aspect of Nerf modding can be kind of difficult and daunting. So, yeah. How much do you mind film writers changing aspects of a film from the source material for any reasoning, and do you have a threshold for such a thing? My ultimate feeling is something that Peter Jackson said in an interview, which was, it's his movie. If you don't like it, make your own. And I respect that, actually. Up until then, I actually was one of the people who would complain about people not following the book accurately, and oh, the book was better and they changed this. And then I saw that interview and basically said, this isn't Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. This is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It's based on Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, but it's different. And I actually do respect that. So I won't actually ever get angry or bent out of shape about it. I will compare the two, and I will, you know, say, I wouldn't have done this, but it was his choice. It was his movie. So that's all well and good. Things that some examples, I didn't like that the Ents weren't aware that the forest was getting cut down. That ticked me off, because in the book, they did know, they were angry about it, and they were hasty to go to war. So when they took that out of the Lord of the Rings, it made them these unaware, silly, old-fashioned, worthless characters, and then they only got pissed off when they saw it, and that wasn't how their characters were, and that kind of, you're like, you really changed the character more than I would have preferred. The elves showing up at Helm's Deep originally annoyed me, but they don't change anything. They just all die. So what was the point? I would have loved it if an army of elves showed up and an army of dwarves showed up, but then they would have had to kill all the dwarves, and I don't like dwarves getting killed. Elves I don't mind so much. I assume Peter Jackson put them in there so he could kill more elves. I don't know. The Hobbit, there were some things where the thing that didn't kind of, I don't know, tweak me a bit about the changes in The Hobbit is the original versions were way better. The battle at the Gates of Moria, the version that's in the Return of the King in the appendixes, is a much better story than what ended up getting told in the movie. And it would have been just as easy to get it right, and it would have been a better story. But you know, The Hobbit, I think, should have been 2 movies. To stretch it out to 3, they had to add way too much fluff that just didn't belong there. And the one thing that he did change that I was genuinely annoyed about, even after believing, you know, it's his movie and he can do it how he wants, was the way that Thorin, Fili, and Kili died. Because in the book, they die in battle, fighting alongside their men in glorious combat in a massive field battle of soldiers. And in the movie, Fili and Kili die badly. They die without weapons in their hands. They die like schmucks. And Thorin dies in a pointless duel with a character that in the book is already dead. So I didn't like that he stripped them of the honor of how they were supposed to die in battle. And they didn't give Bjorn enough screen time killing orcs, in my opinion, because he was supposed to turn the tide of the battle. And the way it's represented in the book, and the way it was represented in the cartoon, and the way it was represented in the graphic novel that I have, way better than the way it was represented in The Hobbit. However, I will give Peter Jackson a pass for all of that because of the Dwarven Shield Wall. Because that just made me so happy. So, I am the type of person, I will find the things I like and focus on them. Because otherwise you're just looking for your own misery, and that's pointless. Domo Vo. 1. How would you react to a stock retaliator that can slam fire? As in, you figured out how to make one exists, or you think they should make one? There's a kit that you can get that just, you replace some of the internals with the retaliator and now it's slam fire. And it's no longer stock at that point because you've modified it. And the Alpha Trooper is more or less that. It's similar to a retaliator except it's front pump. I was never a huge fan of the Retaliator because of the top prime. I prefer the front prime of the Alpha Trooper. So, 2. Did you learn to use any Asian weapons? Not specifically. Most of the weapons that I used, there is an Asian equivalent. So the stuff I learned for German longsword pretty much covers everything that you can do with a katana, and then some. So I can vaguely use a katana. Both countries also had just standard one-handed swords. The Chinese had them, the Japanese had them, everybody had them. And I know how to use those. So I've got that going for me. I learned how to use the spear style that I learned is actually more akin to naginata than to anything that was ever really used in Europe, quite frankly. A light slashing spear and thrusting spear as opposed to, you know, a halberd or, you know, things like that. A very long bladed spear. They did have them in Europe, but the style that I used was really more akin to a naginata than anything that I've seen in most of Europe. But war is war. For the most of those places where they had huge armies, the weapons that people came up with were so similar it really doesn't make a difference. There were specialized ones that you only see over in Asia, the weird ones that ninjas used and that sort of thing. And there were all sorts of specialized ones in Europe where there might not be an exact equivalent, but axes on a pole, swords, pointy spears to stab people, bows, those you see everywhere. So never specifically, but there are Asian weapons that I could use because I know their European counterpart. 3. Is there any good way to learn about wiring? My Hailfire and knockoff tank turret are not working. YouTube. There's lots of videos out there. I will be doing Flywheel Monday mod tips coming up soon. So hopefully the ones that I'll cover will help you with that. I do need to do one on flywheel diagnostics. That will probably be the first video I cover. And then I'll go into how to actually wire them and all of that. But wiring is fairly simple once you understand the basic concepts of electricity and how direct current circuits work. So we will get into that. Lego Lane plays them video games. That is by far the most spontaneous and fabulous hat I have ever seen. I know of better, but I am very fond of that hat. Also, have you heard of or watched the YouTube channel Skolagrim? Yes, I've heard of it. I watched a little of it. It wasn't for me. I'm sure he's got lots of good information and probably lots of stuff I could learn, but there is too much else for me to do to pick up another YouTube channel. I am familiar with his "End Him Rightly" meme that has been created because of him. And I love that a joke that was written 500 years ago is still funny today. That makes me happy. Storm Rage Forever. Would you ever consider making a Centurion automatic using parts from the gearbox of a Stampede, or maybe make a Mega Stampede somehow with a Centurion plunger tube that may be tweaked to not chew up so many Megas? No. If I wanted to make a full auto Mega Blaster, I would go with Mag 212's side-fed Mega Zeus. I've seen that and I love it, and I actually really want to try it at some point. So that would be the way that I would go. Trying to do a Springer, a full auto Springer Mega Blaster, just I don't think it would ever be worth the effort. Saberwing 7. What would you say is the difference between an HVZ specific primary and a regular War Blaster? So HVZ has a number of very different aspects than Nerf Wars do. And the primary difference is that the zombies are trying to tag you, which means the game takes place at point-blank range an awful lot of the time. And so you need a blaster that isn't going to hurt people if you shoot them at 1 foot away. You can build a blaster that'll hit somebody 50 feet away, very accurate, very strong, and very powerful, but that same blaster is going to leave welts at 6 inches. And so you need to take that into account. Most HVZs aren't even going to allow you to use a blaster that powerful. And if they do, they're, in my opinion, wrong and shouldn't allow it, because a lot of HVZ is played without eye protection. And imagine taking a 160 FPS flywheel to the blaster to the eye at 2 feet away. You're going to seriously hurt somebody. Don't do that. Don't be that person, because if you play HVZ with a dangerous blaster and you injure somebody, then that school is going to ban HVZ. So think about think about the other players. Don't hurt people. Nerf is not supposed to hurt. 2, think about the game. If you screw it up for everybody by using an unsafe blaster, that is beyond selfish and irresponsible. Don't do that. The other thing that you need to know about HVZ is that the bad guys keep coming. There are always more zombies. They will continually respawn. So you need to conserve your ammunition, because the HVZ that I played at, WSU, you don't get your darts back until the end of the mission. So when you're out of ammo, you're out of ammo, and they don't allow melee. So you have to learn to conserve your ammo. So you don't want a gun that spews 18 rounds a second, because you're going to run out of bullets really, 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 really fast. It's also 1 hit per zombie, unless they have special zombies. And so putting 4 darts in the first zombie is a waste of ammunition, and you cannot afford that. So you want something that has a very reliable firing, right? You don't want something that's ever going to jam. You don't want something that the batteries are going to run out. You don't want something that isn't accurate. You need short-range, reliable, accurate fire, which is why I favor a Stampede, because at 20 feet, I can always hit what I need to hit. And at 5 feet, it's not going to hurt anybody. And it very rarely jams, and because it's not flywheel, you don't have the motors revving constantly, taking up all of your battery life. The batteries will last, and I've gone through an entire week's game on the same set of batteries. So that's what why I recommend the Stampede over most flywheel blasters. Flywheel blasters are also very noisy, and you don't want the zombies to know where you are. Having a 180 revving, they can hear you all over campus, and they're all gonna come to you. So a quieter blaster is a better way to go. For wars, on the other hand, it's okay to spam 1 target. If you've got 1 guy who's got a really good gun, like out of darts with his Hurricane, I wouldn't mind a 180 rapid strike that's spitting, 10 darts a second at 100 FPS so that I can hit him before he hoses me with his Hurricane. And it's worth it to take out that 1 target. And since the rounds are usually 10-15 minutes and then you get all your darts back, and you're allowed to pick up darts off the field, ammo isn't as much of a concern. So that's pretty much the big difference between HVZ and war primaries. Travis Shee. Have you ever thought about trying a mag strike style clip absolver? No. I can't imagine that would be efficient. I assume you mean like as an actual slide, it fires a couple of them and then you shift it over and it fires a couple more and you shift it over and it fires a couple more. That, on a drain blaster, that might actually not be the worst of idea. I would never do that for ire because it would be horrifically inefficient to try to shift the slide constantly. But on a dedicated drain blaster, you might be able to make that work, actually. But I had never thought of it. Void Walker. Captain, when taking a stock Titan, is there a way to make it fire 8-shot shotgun permanently and minimize it to use as a backup? Well, yes. You can take the Titan out and put it in a Maverick shell or a Spectre shell or a Strong Arm shell. It'll fit in either of those fairly well, and then you just have to add a different pump. And then it's fairly holsterable. 8 rounds is a bit much for a Titan. I have trouble with my Titan firing more than 6 at a time. Drain blasters, of course, can fire 9 or 10, though 10 is where it really starts to taper off. It fires the 9-round Legend Fire cylinders magnificently, though. But if you're for a stock Titan, there's not a lot you can do to minimize it. You might be able to cut off some of... I mean, obviously you can cut off part of the handles and the reticle and the... you can cut down some of the pump, but it's never going to get sidearm size because there's just too much plastic there. Frisky Object. Do you think you could Dremel out the dart stopper in one of the blow dart blasters and use it as a barrel? Probably. Also, do you watch Flash? And if you do, what do you like about it? I started watching it and wandered off. I can't remember why. I don't know if I got busy or distracted or something, but I watched a couple of episodes of it and it didn't catch me. It didn't draw me in and make me want to keep watching, so I think I went back to watching the Marvel series instead. Fire! Ha! Score! Critical Vape. How do you master the comedic timing of thinking groans? Seems like you practiced, and I would like to know how to do it better. No, I didn't practice. I apparently just have good comedic timing, I've been told. I could have taken up comedy, but I didn't. Now, of course, I'm all self-conscious about it, and I'm thinking, what? How am I doing that? What is the key? Am I doing it right? Gear Shift Arc 211138. Completely non-Nerf related, what is your favorite band? I don't have one. Cheesy Ches YT. Out of all the new blasters that have come out, which one would you prefer? I would like to get my hands on the Thermal Hunter, both because it is a front prime magazine fed blaster, and because a whole bunch of guys here had him at the mod party and they look pretty cool. But I also really want to get my hands on the Thermal Sight because I want to try to minimize it because it's huge and bulky and ugly and there's got to be a way to make it smaller. Possibly by integrating it into a blaster. We will see. Wyatt Schaefer. 1960 gangster or modern gangster? Neither. Give me a good 1920 Prohibition mobster any day of the week. Also, broadsword or bastard sword? Bastard sword. Because it goes with my armor. My armor is from the Gothic era when they quit using shields because the metal got good enough, and that is the era of the bastard sword. So I don't own one, though. You'd think I would, but they're not efficient war weapons. Bastard swords are for dueling. For war, you want a warhammer or a halberd or something that can get through armor better than a bastard sword. So I never bothered to get one. Plus, I made most of my weapons because I couldn't afford to buy one, and I can make an axe a heck of a lot cheaper than I could ever make a bastard sword. Justin Line. Who was your favorite Jedi from New Jedi Order in the EU of Star Wars? I actually haven't read it, so I have no idea. Epleprechaun! Are you proficient with a bow and arrow? If so, what kind of bow do you prefer? I am. I'm actually a very good archer, and I prefer either a modern recurve or the English longbow. I actually made one, and I have the materials to make another one because my last longbow broke. I just haven't gotten around to it because I've got nowhere to shoot right now. So, Chaylo Laurino. Yes, one of my younger sisters. Have you seen the movie Captain Phillips featuring Tom Hanks? I haven't. I saw the previews and it looked interesting, and yeah, that's exactly the kind of Somali pirates that we considered hiring ourselves out to defend against. Marty Veneskian. What blaster would be good for a heavy weapon with little modification? Oddly enough, the Stampede doesn't require a whole lot of modification. You up the spring and up the voltage and you're good to go. Because the motor is powerful enough, you don't have to replace the motor, and the wiring is heavy enough that you really don't have to replace the wiring unless you up the voltage really, really high. But you can double the spring load and run it on about I run it on 4 IMRs. You can probably do 3 or a 3S LiPo, and that would get you a pretty good heavy blaster. The Vulcan can also take the same modifications, but you have to make a good box to hold the belt and to then catch the belt again. I made one that was a box that went on both sides. The 50-round belt was on one side, and then it gathered in the other side, so you didn't run into the horrific jamming issues that it usually has when it's dangling loose. So those are the ones that I would recommend. What do you think of cream soda? I love cream soda. It's my second favorite soda after root beer. Nathan Talesian. 1. The Alien Menace foam blade. Have you seen it? And what do you think of it? I hadn't until I saw this comment and I googled it, and it looks gorgeous. I would love to get one. Wish they were in my colors. I could probably paint one. 2. The Dublan's Negotiator. How much of the shell can be removed without affecting the function? Probably most of it. I despise that blaster because the ergonomics are so bad for my hands. I have one and I considered modding it, but it just wasn't worth the effort because I could just use a 4 Victory, which is comfortable, svelte, and shoots better anyway. 3. Longswords. Do you prefer single, two-handed, or hand-and-a-half grip? All of them. For the medieval recreation I did, a lot of what we did involved shields, and for shields, one sword is better. For dueling, I prefer the two-handed, the actual proper German longsword used in Talhofer and Fiore and Lichtenhauer and all of that. It's a proper two-handed grip. It's not what you would call a two-handed sword, the great swords or the Zweihanders. It's smaller than that, but has a longer grip than your hand and a half, which I like the hand and a half. They were used on horseback because they were a little bit longer, could be used two-handed, but from horseback you could use it one-handed as you rode by hacking up peasants. So it depends on what you're doing. I've never ridden a horse, so I don't really have much use for the hand and a half, but for the dueling I do like the two-handed, and for shield work I like the one-handed. So all of it. And finally, slam fire only. How necessary is the trigger assembly to blaster function? So his question was concerning making a master key out of a strong arm, which I have done several times as commissions, and they work fantastic. And you can in fact just glue the whole trigger assembly into the rear position, and you could remove the whole trigger assembly as long as you have the part that actually releases the catch, which it's fairly easy when you open it up to see, okay, you can remove the whole trigger itself. You just have to have the upper part of the trigger, like the actual part that your finger goes on, you can remove. But the mechanism that it moves, you need to have in place to release the catch when it's in the backwards position. But it can be done quite easily. So, Pignus Man 7. Dear Captain, I start high school soon and have high anxiety, so any words of help and inspiration would help. I also have social anxiety. High school was rough for me, but luckily I found the people that had the same interests as me, found the other nerds, found the other people who like doing sword fighting and Star Wars and Star Trek, and I hung out with them. Friends are the key to surviving high school, and a lot of people like to argue that that's part of the point of high school. Yes, it's to educate you and prepare you for college, but it's also to help teach you how to socialize. And that was an aspect that I largely missed, and wish I'd done more in high school. I wish I'd actually dated in high school. I didn't. Surprise, surprise. Long hair and a beard did not go well in a small town in Idaho, and I was a weird kid and a dork, so I didn't. I could have. I found out my senior year when I shaved and got a haircut and came to school as a new student as my senior prank. Turns out the girls were in fact attracted to me, but by then it was way too late to make up for all of the dorkiness, so I didn't date until late in college. But friends. Friends is the way to go. And don't try to be friends with the popular kids if that's not your personality. Find the people that are similar to you. Find the people that like Nerf. Find the people that like whatever nerdery you are into. And hang out with them. And finally, Private Reaper 89, Lost Son of Fenris. Fabulous name. Hey, Captain, have you ever read the Wheel of Time series? If you haven't, I recommend it. I do think you would like the characters Matt and Perrin. Also, nice Three Musketeers reference, one of my favorite versions of the story. I tried to read Wheel of Time. So help me, I tried 3 times. I tried to make it through. I tried reading it, and I got to a certain point and just couldn't put up with the characters anymore. Matt and Perrin were my favorite characters, but they were not good enough to make up for the other characters. So I then tried the audiobook. At the time, there was a video game I liked playing that I didn't need to think, and I needed background noise, so I tried listening to the audiobooks of The Wheel of Time. And I got to the same point, and just didn't want to listen to it anymore. And I tried it again a little bit later and got a little bit further and was even more annoyed by the characters. There were just too many stupid characters for me to deal with. But the story was cool, and I'm sure it gets better later. Everyone tells me it gets better later, but I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. As for the Three Musketeers, yes, Oliver Platt's Porthos is still one of my favorite Porthoses. I'm also a fan of Jérôme Depardieu's Porthos, and the French version as well. But I'm a big fan of the Three Musketeers. I'm particularly a fan of the fact that they bring up that being a left-handed fencer gives you an unfair advantage. And it really does. As a left-handed fencer, I can attest, we get a huge advantage over right-handed fencers because they're just not used to it, and it really throws them off. But at the same time, I can't stand fighting left-handed fencers because I'm not used to it and it throws me off. So yeah, that was something that really tickled me when I read The Three Musketeers, was Athos pointing out that he was going to have to fence left-handed because he got wounded in his right shoulder, but he's ambidextrous, and he's sorry if this puts D'Artagnan at a disadvantage. And that just tickled me. Ah, no good. All right, on to the fan mail. I have so much swag today. All right, we have a horde of packages and 1 letter, so we will start with the letter from Clayton. Oh, sweet. Buttery goodness. Dear Captain Xavier, below is a status report on the findings and developments of Tarantula Den Armaments Industries. Field testing the Rapid Aggressor Attenuation Gatling Rifle Prototype, formerly referred to as Ragnarok, on redacted information. As proven the prototype's effectiveness, Ragnarok Prototype Phase 2 is underway, with a more adequate power reserve, a linear propulsion actuators. We should see increased performance in the field. Once the Mark 6 prototype has been completed, we will send it your way for full hands-on third-party analysis. That is going to be cool. While we would very much give you a unit for your own personal inventory, the funds simply do not permit it currently. No worries. After successfully field testing the redacted information, we will be sending you a Generation 2 model. Unfortunately, due to the Generation 2 model's engineering, your model will be retrofitted with either 2 or 3 round cylinder. Due to the current workload, the retrofitting process may take some time. We hope you will put it to good use, dispatching any and all shielded adversaries you should encounter. Remember, the new Eden Republic are not to be trusted and are to be eradicated. Keep up the good work. Sincerely, TDS and TDIA founder and head developer and engineer, Iktomi Mao Guil. P.S. Sorry if there are any errors or this message just seems a bit short-handed. I'll admit I am late getting this to you, as planning to get this letter to you by August 4th, aka my birthday. Happy birthday. Reason I'm so late, you ask? Well, found out August 3rd that I have an umbilical hernia. Well, that's unpleasant, and have been trying to deal with the pain, commissions, and the security work life. I would rather be either in the shop or on the field at some war-torn planet, but sadly, I have to wait until after surgery. Here's hoping men and women in the information filtering department don't redact the information and images. If you don't see a picture with the number listed on it, the censor piranhas got to it. If the piranhas got to the images, well, I'll have to send them a letter on a later date. Attached to this document images are the following weapon systems as follows. Ragnarok prototype. Redacted. Nice. End transmission. Oh, I love these. These are so much fun. See now that, the Mark IV, incomplete. Take a look at that. That is just a beautiful combination of blasters. That is an awesome heavy blaster. I love the rotating barrel, and it's the Rapid Strike core, the Firefly stock, the Havoc carry handle. That is cool. Apparently there's stuff on the back. Also, I wanted to thank you and Wallcom for everything. I found your YouTube channels while I was in a very depressive state. Thanks to you and Wallcom content, I found the distraction I needed to get by. Also to Wallcom, sorry I have yet to make your Celebration Walrus. The umbilical hernia has had me in a lot of pain. I'm trying to get the Walrus and the gift I made for you, Captain Xavier, finished after surgery. Till next time, keep up the outstanding content. Tarantula Den Studios, Ikatomi Gwil. You, sir, are awesome. That is a gorgeous picture. I am so looking forward to seeing that in person. Yes, 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 yes. Keep up that kind of work, because that is what makes the community awesome. And letters like these are just so cool. I love getting stuff that's written in character. There's some stories about that'll take place on my YouTube channel about how much sending me letters like that, in-character letters, can get you a long way. So thank you for that, and I hope you recover. That sounds very unpleasant. Okay, let's take a look at this. It's from Integrity Brand Inc. Sounds like happiness. It is! It's been smashed. The Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies, the Witch King Battle. Sweet! I do have this one also, but once again, I need more elves for my eventual elf kingdom, which will happen, and you can never have too many liches, and it's Lego. The thing about Lego is having the same set 20 times is just 20 times better than having one. So this is awesome. This will be getting a by the book. Yes. Sweet. So many good parts in this set. So many good parts. Awesome. I don't know who it's from. I assume it's from Sparky Santos because he sends me all the best stuff. If it wasn't Sparky Santos, let me know who it was so that I can thank you properly. If it was Sparky Santos, you're becoming my own personal Santa Claus, and that's just awesome. All right, let's take a look at this one. A gift from Corey Tadson. What is it? Well, it's a lovely shade of orange, whatever it is. Does anybody know what this is? Oracle, Intermediate Cal, 651. Is it some sort of sticker paper? It is. It doesn't separate easily. No idea. Well, Corey Tadson, do me a favor and put in the comments what this is, because I'm sure it's awesome and I will use it all the time once I know what it's for. Sweet. All right. No idea. More from Corey Tadson. He sent me a fez. Oh, I am wearing this next week. Yes. Everybody needs a fez. I do not own a fez. God, that makes me happy. All right, you will see that. I will have to come up with a character of some kind for the wearing of the fez. All right, more stuff from Amazon. It doesn't say who it's from. Oh, wait, there it is. A gift for you, Captain. Enjoy the vinyl. Oh, that's what this is. Okay. It should give you used to decal templates fans send. I said in a comment a while ago, my wife loves your Q&A hats. She sends the fez and the captain's hat. Sincerely, Mr. and Mrs. Nathan Talisian. Ah, ha! That's who you are. What? Captain's hat. Captain's hat. Yes! It fits! Oh, that is entirely too cool. Oh, I look forward to... Now I'm looking forward just to being able to wear the hats in my next fan mail. That is so cool. You two are awesome. Thank you. All right. Vinyl. Yes. For the templating. Cool. Yes, that'll be very, very handy. Okay. Oh, that sounds like happiness. Aha! The unexpected journey. It's a tiny Gandalf. Gandalf and a little bit of rock with some swords and a staff and a spear and a map. Spider. Sweet. I actually don't have that beard, so now I've got a dark... I think I tried making a dark gray wizard. But now, yes, excellent. Yeah, excellent. Can never have too many wizards and random parts. Very cool. Awesome. Thank you. Good. This one came through unfazed, which I really like it because it's like a glow stick that blinks or is solid and a flashlight. All good stuff. And this one is not shattered. This was what he sent me to put in the original firing hole for the crossbow, and I think that might actually be a really good idea. Someone else recommended using it just as a holder for other absolvers, which isn't a bad idea, except I usually have that in pouches on my tack gear, so having a flashlight in there actually makes more sense. So yes, very cool. I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with the other one, the one that broke. I'll probably be able to salvage the glow stick part of it, which could be very, very handy. So, awesome! More Legos from Sparky, because he's my own private Santa Claus now. Alright, the first package, let's see, this one has no return address. Good day, Captain Xavier. Good day. Here is the magazine mod I mentioned to you. I took advantage of the grooves just on the side of the lip of the parts that hold the dart in place. By that I mean it suggests that it holds the dart in place that are already in most Nerf mags. I took the plastic string that can be found in your basic one-size-fits-all earplugs, cut to length, and super glued in place. It does a great job of keeping the darts from jumping out of the mag by their own free will. I have only tested it in stock blasters. So far it works rather well. This is not really meant to be a permanent means of dart storage, though I believe that goes without saying. However, we both know that there are those that won't come to that conclusion on their own. The bag is yours to keep. Feel free to abuse it and put it through whatever blaster you can. Your new to Nerf friend, Stalwart Hero. Well, let's take a look at this. So, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it particularly well, but that yellow is a little bit of plastic that's been glued to the inside of the magazine, the inside of the lip, to keep the darts from popping out the top. This is a problem that you will occasionally see in strifes, and particularly I think it was a problem with the Raven. Of the dart would go to, the pusher would go to push the dart in, and it would instead pop up, and it would end up jamming your darts. Our solution previously had been to use a bit of tape and put it over the top on one end. Put one section with the sticky side up and then another section with the sticky side down so that it didn't stick to your darts, of course. And that actually worked fairly well, but you couldn't use those mags in non-flywheel blasters then. This one, hypothetically, would still allow you to use it. I will definitely test it. I'll test it in Ire and my Alpha Trooper and any other magazine blasters, the Springers that I can try it in, and see if that works, because that's a really, really simple solution that utilizes already existing parts. So that is really creative. I'm going to have to test that out. Now for one of the big ones. This is the one from a Johnny Miller that was missing its label. So the post office was, first of all, kind of confused how it even got there, since you generally have to have that in place and, you know, pay for the shipping. But their thought was it must have come off, which, maybe? If it was going to be postage due, they were going to charge me for the shipping, which would have been pricey. But since it had the stamp saying retail ground, they assumed that, no, it had to have been paid for, that the label just must have gotten ripped off. It does look like something was ripped off here. They weren't sure, but they didn't charge me for it. But if you didn't pay for it, let me know so that I can, because I'd prefer to not rip off the post office, because that's rude. Dear Captain Xavier, I love your videos. By the way, Lego or Nerf? My name is Damien. Your friend Damien. P.S. Legos in box. Legos? Legos? Dear Captain Xavier, what is your best Nerf gun? Would you rather have a full auto or semi-auto or Springer? Well, let's start at the beginning. Lego or Nerf? If I had to choose, it would be Lego. I wouldn't even bat an eye. It would be Lego all the way. That's been my choice since I was, for as long as I can remember, honestly. I can never remember not having Legos. What is our best Nerf gun? Ire really still is my best. I do have plans for a few that might just change that, at least in some ways. And what would you rather have, a full auto or semi-auto or Springer? I prefer a full auto Springer. I really do want to make a select fire rapid strike someday. That's on my list of blasters to build. And I do want to make a couple of auto strifes. And I love strifes as my sidearms because they're semi-automatic, which is great for HVZ because you don't waste ammo. And Springers are just the most reliable. I've never had my Alpha Trooper jam on me in combat, whereas I've had all of my other blasters jam at one point or another. Springers definitely have that advantage going for them. Dear Captain Xavier, the kids and I have been watching your channel since the first episode. I subscribed somewhere around the 60s after watching Walcomm's video. We talked a few times over Facebook, and the kids and I decided to send you a goodie package saying thank you for the entertainment, ideas, and advice on some of your tougher projects. Inside, you'll find an assortment of items that are yours to keep, and the items I requested you hand off to Walcom at your earliest convenience, the Pulsator. I am sure if the familiar with better... I'm not sure if you're familiar with better blocks, but they are a thing I grew up with in the 90s and have LEGO-compatible parts along with them that allow cross-stacking. Also, the bag of glow-in-the-dark Legos... Glow-in-the-dark... What? Glow-in-the-dark Legos? A repeater barrel for the sling fire, a Cthulhu ski mask that I have no use for as it won't fit over my gargantuan cranium, a Speedload 6 that is yours if you can manage to fix the breach mechanism. I couldn't figure it out, but the rest is in sound condition if you want to use it for parts. And my oldest has decided to send you the barrel scope attachment from the regulator we purchased. Thank you. Given the quality of your work, I'm also curious to see if you would consider a trade mod. If so, you can get in contact with me on Facebook or and we can discuss. Thank you, Johnny Millier Sr. P.S. Enclosed are letters from my kids, a little more self-conscious about my handwriting as it is atrocious. As is mine. Your kids have better handwriting than I do. All right then. Oh, yeah, I remember these. You could build chains and stuff using them. Very cool. All right. So, a great big bag of swag. Well, that smells like childhood. Okay, gobs and all of the better blocks in all of the land. I am sure I can find a use for them somehow. They've got treads. Well, if nothing else, I can definitely use treads. Arrgh. Glow-in-the-dark Legos. Well, that is entirely nifty. And I can think of a couple of places those would come in handy. Speedload 6 with a... Yeah, it's just gotten out of track. Have to pop it open and pop it all back together. But I could probably fix that. Okay, that is a really cool barrel to go on a sling fire, which I have. Oh, that sling fire has a different... I'm going to have to make a Winchester sling fire now. That is really, really cool. Ooh! A chainmail bracelet. I've done this weave, though. I did it with, No, I didn't do this weave. I did the 6-in-1 version of this weave. You can actually tighten it up and it becomes very, very rigid. That is really pretty. Will it fit? Will it fit? It will! Sweet! Check that out. Love chainmail. What is this for? I assume this is part of this? Somehow? Super cool. Regulator scope connection. Very cool. And a pulsator for Walcom. Very good. I've got 2 of them, so that's not a problem. I will send this one to him. Oh, it's loaded. Where on earth did you actually find ammo for a pulsator? That is amazing. All right. And a Cthulhu ski mask. Check that out. I am going to wear this in one of these episodes, but not until winter because it's warm and I would die. But eventually I will do a Q&A wearing this and it will be fantastic. Okay, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. These will be fun to tinker with. I don't know that I ever had them, but I did know people who did, and I know you can do some wicked stuff with them. Sprecher is a brand of root beer, and it happens to be my favorite brand of root beer that I've yet to ever have. I first was introduced to it in Wisconsin when I was working at a Ren Fair, and loved it, and did not get enough of it while I was there, and then I moved away, or went back home, and couldn't find it. Lived in Lewiston for many years, kept wishing that I could find some Sprecher, but never finding it, and then a week before I moved out of Lewiston, I found a place that sold Sprecher. Turns out there was a place in Lewiston that had it the whole time, but I'd never gone in there, ever, once. And so I grabbed a bunch, and I drank them, and it was delicious and fantastic, and then moved away. But my friend John was living in Wisconsin, I believe. Might have been Illinois. No, Wisconsin. He was down, yeah, Wisconsin. Or was he in Michigan? I don't know where he was. But he was in the area where you could get Sprecher. And he has sent me a case of Sprecher. 66 pounds of root beer is what was delivered to my door. I was expecting a 4-pack. Not this much. This is magnificent. John, you are awesome. I hope your friend is doing well. If the GoFundMe is still live, let me know, and I'll bring it up again, because this is awesome. Okay. This is by far one of my favorite fan mails yet. You guys are awesome. If I'd known I was going to end up with fans this cool that would send me this kind of cool stuff, I'd have made a YouTube channel a long time ago. I'm really enjoying doing the Monday mod tips and the mod guides because I like teaching and I like giving advice and I love learning. I learn so much stuff from the comments from you guys and from letters I get sent and from doing research because of questions that you guys have asked. And it's one of the reasons I love this hobby so much, is because in general the community is really cool because we're all nerds playing with kids' toys, and it's hard to be a schmuck when you're doing that and you know that you're doing that. So keep being cool, keep sending me stuff. I will keep doing what I'm doing or try to improve as best I can as I go along. So thanks again for everything, and thank you for watching.